Well, Nathan, there you have it, the brand new 2020 Subaru Outback off-roading.
Yeah, off-roading. Sadly, we're not the ones who are driving it.
Yeah, there's a program happening right now where journalists are test driving the new 2020 Outback, but since we weren't invited, unfortunately, we still wanted to be the first to do the first non-drive review. Now, we do have friends at the program, so at the end of this video, we will show you where you can go to actually get a review of driving impressions. But in this video, what are we going to talk about?
We're going to talk about what's new. We're going to talk about the styling, ride and handling, through their perspective, of course, performance and economy, utility and convenience, value and competition. Keep in mind, guys, we owned the previous generation and we beat the crap out of that thing, so we know a lot about it.
And a lot of it is carryover, so let's get right to it and turn the page and tell you as much as we can in this first non-driving review. So Nathan, did you know that the Outback is Subaru's most popular best-selling vehicle?
Yeah, I did. And what's really cool about that is that we owned one before, and so we can see some of the reasons why.
Yeah, it really was a good vehicle for the length of time that we had it. But let's talk about the new 2020 Outback, and here's what's new. So this is a 6th generation Outback. I believe it's been 6 generations already, and guess what?
It's built on Subaru's new global platform. This is an all-new platform.
It also shares that platform with the Legacy, which is in stores right now. So if you're excited by that big 12-inch screen, and if you're excited about the way that the Legacy looks, well, the Outback is basically built on the same platform.
Here's the big news. A new 2.4-liter turbocharged engine. It's back, baby. This is the same engine that they're using in the Ascent, and it is a lot more powerful than the engine it replaces.
Yeah, that 3.6 is gone.
It is gone. But there is still a regular, normally aspirated 4-cylinder engine available. There's the EyeSight system, and it's now standard across the range. That is the avoidance mitigation system that actually has eyes up there, preventing you from running things over like cars, people that you love, animals you love. It's a lot of love stuff going on.
You know who else loves it? Andre's wife. They have one with the EyeSight.
They do, and they're getting rid of that car soon, by the way. And there are more standard features.
So let's get right into it, and let's talk about what is different. So styling, of course, it's evolutionary, not revolutionary. To me, it looks like they took the current one, which was kind of round, and kind of stretched it and made it look a little bit more modern. So instead of being round, it's now kind of more angular. So they replaced curves with angles, but basically it's the same Outback, just a little bit refreshed.
See, now I actually think it's a better looking vehicle than the one it replaces. I really didn't like the headlights and the taillights on the old one. I think they're better looking on this one. I do agree it does look stretched, and it is a little bit more angular, and it's a little bit more contemporary, and it still looks like a Subaru.
Yeah, it's like the Forester, same thing. And what happens is if a manufacturer has a very popular vehicle, then they're never going to take a huge risk when it comes to restyling it, right? They're going to make it look very similar to the outgoing vehicle so that people feel comfortable buying it, so that people feel comfortable trading up to it. There's never going to be any huge new risk.
Well, I think it's better looking than the Forester. I recently drove the Forester, and we do have a video on that. And frankly, I didn't think that that was as good looking as the older Foresters. Let's move on, though.
Yep, larger grille, revised headlights, fog lights, you talked about that.
Wider fenders.
Yep, new taillights, wider hatch opening, and those new taillights actually are smoked in one of the different models. So if you like smoked taillights, you're going to like the new Subaru.
Because it's all about the street, yo. With an Outback.
The interior tweaks are subtle, except, man, for that new display. It's massive. It's probably the biggest display outside of Rams right now.
Or Teslas.
Or Teslas, yeah. And they've moved a lot of the features, including xDrive, into the display now. So it's no longer next to the shifter, but it's right there in the display. So if you love big displays, if you love iPads, Subaru's got you covered.
Yeah, it's a multi-function display. It has a lot of stuff going on inside of it. It's one of those things where they've actually been able to clean up the interior by bringing a lot of the controls into that display. So if you're into that type of stuff, then it's a good thing.
And I'm into it. I think it looks hot. I love big displays,
The interior is a much better place to be.
All right, this is going to be the little tricky one, ride and handling, because we're not
driving it.
But we can tell you some stuff.
Yeah, it is still 8.7 inches off the ground. Now, that is really good ground clearance, and we've had an opportunity to drive a lot of vehicles off-road and in snow, and I can tell you that that is like the golden height.
And Subaru does that for all their models, right? for their off-road worthiness.
Yeah.
And it does make it off-road worthy, and they do pay a price in terms of fuel economy, because you get up that high, you start to create a little bit more drag, but it looks cool, it looks off-road worthy, and they're the only ones outside of Jeep really that have that much ground clearance, pretty standard across the board.
Yeah, can you imagine the BRZ if they actually lifted it up that high? That would be awesome! Okay, but it is the same platform as the Forester and the Ascent and the new Legacy.
And of course you get Subaru's all-wheel drive, which is very good in snow, on dirt roads, but as we found out in our testing, and probably the reason we're not at the first drive event, it is not a rock crawler, it is not something that you want to take into the deep off-road woods.
Which that has to do in part to the CVT, the continuously variable transmission, which we'll get to in a moment.
Yep. But the interior is comfortable and the ergonomics are
much better.
Much better. And I think Subaru does some of the best ergonomics to begin with anyway.
No, actually, I disagree. I used to hate their ergonomics.
Really?
I owned a Subaru before, and I always felt that things were like kind of misplaced and last minute, and they've improved vastly over the years.
But they're not messing with the shifter, for instance. It's still,
It's still a shifter and not some flappy paddle thing. I do appreciate that. It would be nice if they had a manual transmission available, but nope, they don't have that.
And let's talk about performance and economy, and here we do know all the numbers. First and foremost, there's that new 2.4-liter turbo boxer out of the Ascent, 260 horsepower, 277 pound-foot of torque.
Nice.
Uses regular fuel and replaces that old 3.6 liter.
Yes, which is awesome on many counts. Now, bear in mind, living at high elevation, and by the way, a lot of Subarus are sold in Colorado, even though we don't have one. So the fact is that having a turbocharged engine at high elevation really does help a lot.
Of course, there is the reworked 2.5-liter engine. It puts out 182 horsepower, up from 175, 176 pounds-foot of torque, up from 174. But we had that engine, and it is definitely poking it.
Yeah, but see, they've actually increased its power and torque.
7 horsepower.
Yeah, so that's
2 pound-foot of torque.
Hey, you know what? Every little bit helps, and in this particular case, maybe that does help quite a bit. Who knows? Now, here's the thing.
I'm going to go with it's still really pokey, because I drove that vehicle a lot, and it's to the point where it does not get out of
its own way.
It barely keeps up with traffic when you floor it. Here in Colorado, keep in mind, this
is
here
Colorado
above sea level. I'm sure if you're at sea level, it's a different story.
Yeah.
But here we're losing at least 15% of that 182 horsepower, and so you're already down to maybe like 150, which is not enough for a tall wagon.
Yeah, well, in time we will find out. Now, they do have an updated CVT with what they call an 8-speed manual shift mode, and that's up from 6. Now, that's simulated. It's not a real shift mode because there are no gears. We're talking about a belt between two pulleys, basically. So it's something that feels like it's shifting. Now, here's the good news. The CVTs have been improving over time. Unfortunately, still CVT, so that means that it's not exactly the most engaging thing in the world to drive, but I have a feeling that at least with the improvements, it'll be smoother.
So, question, Ford and Chevy are at 10 speeds.
Yes.
CVT's infinite amount of...
Yeah, you could get why not 30?
What does that do when you take it off-road?
Yes, that's a really good question. I guess we're going to have to find out in the future.
No, we know. I mean, it's the
it
same
doesn't
CVT.
do anything.
It doesn't do anything.
It
does. The CVT, that's really the vehicle's Achilles heel off-road. What ends up happening, and this is, I think, why we're not at the event, because we keep saying this, and it's true, the CVT will protect itself in a situation where there's a lot of wheel slip.
Yeah, heat.
It will automatically cut power to the wheels. So in a regular car with a normal transmission, I shouldn't say regular car, with a normal transmission, you will spin those wheels, spin them till either you burn the tires off or you get up the mountain. The Subaru will cut power and you'll be floored, the engine will be revving, and nothing will move.
And they're doing that for self-preservation to make sure you don't destroy their transmission. And I get that part, but unfortunately what it does compared to an older Subaru with an automatic transmission or a manual transmission, those vehicles, you could really bounce them around, hit it hard, and get over obstacles. These new ones, unfortunately, you do the same type of thing, and it'll cut power, and it won't let you move forward. But you have to keep in mind, that's on extreme conditions over
like
regular,
Gold Mine Hill.
Gold Mine Hill. Regular minor off-roading, it still works pretty good.
Yeah, and we don't know if that's changed in the new model, If we were there, we would test it.
Yes. Oh,
That's probably why we're not there again. Fuel economy we have, Nathan. 26 city, 33 highway, 29 combined for the 2.5, which is phenomenal.
that's excellent for an all-wheel drive vehicle. And that is credited also to the CVT.
Yes.
That's one thing they do. They get good mileage.
That's +1.
Yep, that's with a power boost and a torque boost. So that's impressive. I'm not surprised about the turbo engine. Turbocharged engines usually are not as efficient as normally.
Thirsty, let's face it.
Yeah, that's correct. So 23 miles per gallon city, 30 miles per gallon highway, 26 combined. That's still not terrible.
But here's a big number. +4 mpg combined over the 3.6. So you get a win-win. You get better fuel economy, you get better power, and you get a turbo.
There you go. So definitely some accolades for Subaru on that one.
Utility and convenience, Nathan. So we have that new, 11.6, really 12-inch display on the premium and higher models. I think on the interior, that is really the show star, right?
It is. And guys, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Yay!
Yeah, that's becoming kind of ubiquitous now.
Yeah, but not everybody has it.
That's true. All models get auto stop start and auto brake hold, LED lights, high beam assist. So
That's
a lot
correct.
of really cool kind of premium features. Some people hate this.
I agree.
I don't know if you can turn it off, but usually the way that the government does this is if you have this in order to get the fuel economy savings, which tends to be about 1 mpg, right?
Right.
They force you to cycle it back on every time you turn this.
So even if you can defeat it, which most cars allow you to do, once you turn the car back on, usually it resets. And I would say that's on a majority of the cars that are out there. It does have reverse automatic braking on limited and higher models, which is nice to have so you don't run somebody over because it's love.
Or into a wall.
Well,
Sorry, Tommy. All right, let's talk about the dimensions and the differences between the 2020 and the 2019. So wheelbase, Nathan, 108 inches. 108 inches.
Yep.
Change, none.
no change there, but the changes actually come from the length. This is a longer vehicle, so 191.3 inches over the old one, which was 189.9 inches. So that's a 1.4 inch gain.
Yep, height 66.1, 66.1. Once again, no change. But the width has gone wider, 73 inches. The old one was 72.4, so 0.6 of an inch.
That helps us large Americans.
Yeah, and here's the big number, and this is actually interesting. Curb weight on the base model. The 2020 is 3,634. The outgoing model is 3,624, so it actually gained only 10 pounds, which is pretty phenomenal.
Well, considering that it has a nicer interior with more goodies and more tech, the fact that it's gained that little weight is pretty impressive.
Yeah, and then it's a little bit,
It's a larger vehicle too, yeah.
So, and I suspect that a lot of that length has gone into more leg room in the back, so it's going to be a little bit more comfortable. Remember, you saw it first in the Fast Lane car, and they just announced pricing, so we have it for you. And unsurprisingly, it's more expensive. In fact, it gets more expensive the better or the nicer the model. So let's go over the prices.
So let's start with the base. It comes with a 2.5 liter non-turbo engine, and it's starting $27,655.
That's $335 more than the outgoing model.
That is correct. Then you go to the premium, which is $29,905.
Or $485 more than the last generation?
That's right. The limited comes in at $34,455.
Ooh, $635 more.
The touring is $38,755.
$985 more. Keep in mind, these are the starting prices.
These are the starting MSRP. Now, here's the different one, the Onyx Edition XT, which is like a limited from before the 3.6. It's a similar car, and you also get the 2.4 liter turbo engine, and that starts at $35,905. It's an all-new model.
And it has changed actually nothing because it's brand new.
Because it's brand new. Then we go to the Limited XT, and that's at $38,755.
Holy cannoli, Nathan, $2,765, but there's a little caveat there. That's the old 3.6 limited engine, so it's really not apples to apples, right? Now we're comparing a turbo to a six-cylinder.
That's right. So compared to that engine, yeah, you're talking about a big premium, but you're also talking about an all-new interior and lots of good stuff. The Touring XT, that is the top of the line, and that comes in at $40,705.
Okay, Nathan, that's a $735 difference. Now, do keep in mind that it does include the destination charge of $1,010, which I don't understand. That's just a freebie. Destination charges are just like, I know it's supposed to be how much it costs to transport the car from, from the port to the dealership, but come on, guys. And these keep going up and up and up.
Yeah, but that's all the way across the board. Every automaker is doing that.
Yes, we're not just picking on Subaru here.
That's right.
All right, as we're getting through this very comprehensive review.
Indeed it is.
Let's talk about the competitors out there. And the Subaru lives in this weird space with the Outback, and that is it's really a wagon that's lifted, so it's not quite a mid-size crossover, but it's really not quite a wagon. So
It's a big car.
yeah, it really competes with two different. So why don't we go over the wagons it competes with?
Yeah, one of my favorites, by the way, in terms of a good deal and a great performer, the Volkswagen Golf Sport Wagon and
I'm
All-Track.
seeing a lot of those on the road.
Yes, they're finally starting to sell. And the thing is that, by the way, if you're interested in them, the Sportswagen basically is a little bit lower than the All-Track, but the Sportswagen is a lot cheaper, and you can get the all-wheel drive, you can get a manual transmission and a turbocharged engine. Really good car.
The most underappreciated and
By far.
I think sexiest wagon out there right now is the Buick Regal Touareg. Basically, it's an Opel, and it's sexy as you know what.
Yeah, it's very similar to the Subaru in terms of its size, in terms of its capability. But the cool part about that car, I think, is that it has a very nice interior. And yeah, they're really cheap to get right now because they're trying to sell them and they're not. So,
no, it's a good point. Volvo, V60, V90 cross country, and of course the Audi A4 all-road. Now these are, priced differently than the Subaru.
Right, they're all over the place.
Crossovers, of course, the RAV4. We did a video comparing the two.
That's right.
Honda CRV or / Passport. I think it competes more with the Passport actually.
Yeah, with the Passport, I would agree, because the Passport, remember, doesn't have the third row seat like the Pilot.
And it's a little bit more off-road-y.
A little bit more, yeah.
Yeah, Jeep Grand Cherokee. Whoa, that's one that's got to be making.
I would say just the Cherokee personally.
Yeah.
So it's definitely between the two. But then again, the premium wagon versus you can choose.
And in a way, the Subaru Forester and the Ascent. I mean, the Ascent, of course, has more seating, and the Forester is a little cheaper.
That's right. And the Forester is a little bit more of an SUV-ish type thing, so it stands a little bit taller and it has a little bit more of a bent that goes up against vehicles like the CRV.
All right, so at the beginning of this video, we promised, and it's not here because I promised something and we didn't put it, to let you know where you can go and watch a review of this. Our friend Alex from Alex on Autos is from the social media picture at the Subaru Drive as we speak.
That's right.
And he does the most comprehensive reviews out there, so I would highly recommend you go check his review out. I'm sure it'll be up soon whenever the embargo ends. We don't have to worry about that. But yeah, check his review out. And guys, thank you for sticking with us through this very first TFL
Non-driving review.
All right, see you guys next time.
See ya.